Welcome to Season 2 of Nepal Now. My name is Marty Logan. 5 to 6 million Nepalis live outside of Nepal today, excluding India and other South Asian countries. Nepal's total population is 28 million. Many emigrants leave for a specific period of time, to either work or study, but others embark for what they hope will be a better life in countries including Australia, the US, and the UK. It's normal that some of those emigres return home at some time in their lives, often with the dream of building a house, retiring, and enjoying their final years among family and friends. But in recent years, it seems that more and more people are returning sooner, some to be with family, but many to set up businesses and help give the economy a kickstart. However, I have never, in my 2 decades connection with Nepal, heard of someone coming back to this country to enter politics, until I spoke to Karma Tamang. Karma left Nepal for Germany 2 decades ago, did her studies, started a successful career in IT, got married and raised a family, and after a frustrating attempt to launch and operate a non-profit organization from abroad, decided that politics was a major barrier blocking Nepal's development. She quit her job and started making plans to move back home, to enter the very rough and tumble world of Nepali politics. Today, she'll tell us why, what she's experienced to date, and how the pandemic has affected her plans. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like or follow Nepal Now in your favorite podcast player to get the next episode delivered automatically. You can also share your thoughts and ideas with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or email me at marty@martylogan.net, marty@martylogan.net. And now, here's my conversation with Karma Tamang. Karma Tamang, welcome to Nepal Now podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here with you.
So just to let people know, you're in Germany at the moment, so
Right.
we're doing this remotely. You've lived in Germany for a number of years now, right?
Yeah, 2 decades.
I should say also that we are also friends. Through I met you through my wife, who went to school with you at some point
Also college.
in college. Okay, and I know that you've been traveling regularly back to Nepal, and you're anxious to come back again. Do you have any idea when you might make it again?
I hope soon. We've been waiting for the past 5 months. We were supposed to be back in Nepal on the 1st of April. And since then, we've booked like three kinds of tickets. So it's supposed to be actually regular flights is supposed to be flying from 1st September, but there's no sign.
That's very disappointing, I'm sure. I know you still have family here, so obviously you're concerned about them. In terms of your project, is it delaying that? I mean, do you have kind of a timeline for when you want to reach certain goals for your political work?
It would be great if I was back in Nepal again so that I could meet people on the ground. And actually, I was planning to work in Kavri, my home village, and to mingle with people, and had a couple of social projects in the pipeline. But yeah, so I'm still stuck in Germany, and also in Nepal, the situation is worsening. So yeah, let's see what happens. We don't know. We cannot plan anything. None of us, I guess.
Exactly. It's complicated. It's unpredictable, like you said. So best of luck. I hope to see you here in Nepal sometime soon. Listen, if you just met someone and you're describing this project that you've undertaken to return to Nepal, how do you kind of briefly describe what it is that you're doing in Nepal, with Nepal, for Nepal?
Um, it is. I feel it is kind of responsibility for all Nepali citizens to do something for the country, especially the privileged ones. My family comes from a very poor background. My parents are illiterate, and actually my whole family illiterate. And with this background, we have had to fight for our social and political rights. And having been grown up and with this background, I was fortunate enough to visit a very good school and college, and through scholarship and also help from outside. I had the opportunity to go to Germany and have a very good education. And also now I'm kind of a bit, at least a bit financially independent. So I feel it is my duty to go back and give back to the country. Because if those who are poor, those who are underprivileged, those who do not have education cannot do anything for the country, because they are fighting daily to feed themselves. So they don't have those privileges and opportunities to do something for the country, even if they want to. My motivation is that I go back and give back in political and social fields. And I hope all those listening to me around the world give it a try. It's not that you have to go back for good. I mean, nowadays the flight is not that expensive, and we're interconnected. And if one can take a break, say for a year or 2 years or 3 years, one can do a project, go to the village and teach, or have awareness campaign. There is a lot of possibilities to give back to your community and to your country. And I hope that people do that as long as they are young. Otherwise, I see that many people immigrate and have a good life, and then with 60s and 70s, when they go back to Nepal, there's not much they can do, not because they are not capable or something, but they lose the connection to the country, and there is a huge generation gap. So you do not understand what people are trying to say, and people do not understand what you're trying to say. So to minimize this gap, it would be awesome if people go back when they are still young enough. I wouldn't say this and that age, but at least in the age where you are fit enough, or you're independent financially, and also in good health, because it is a challenge in Nepal to work. There are a lot of hurdles, I would say. Yeah.
Now, this project of yours to come back and to get involved in politics is one I know you've been thinking about and planning for a long time. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, you got involved with a new political party soon after it started. It's called Vivek Shil, and that
Yes.
was 2012, about 2012.
Yes, yes. Bibekshil Nepali. Before it was a movement, and then we registered it as a political party in 2014. I've been involved since the beginning.
Right. Yeah, I didn't realize. So you were actually involved in registering it.
Yeah, I was not on the ground most of the time, but I helped from outside, and extending the party to, making units outside Nepal. So we started in Germany and then in other European countries, and we had a very good network of Vivekshi Nepali. We still have.
Okay. And then in recent years, you started spending more and more time in Nepal regularly, doing work on the ground, right? As you said, visiting villages and that sort of thing.
Yes, yes. I've tried to do as much as possible. I left my job in June 2018, and then went to Nepal for 4 months and then came back for 1.5 months. And then, yeah, basically 2019, I went to Nepal for 4 times, I think. I went back and forth, and I was there most of the time, probably 8 months or so from the whole 2019. And yeah, I was planning to stay the whole year, 2020, but it didn't work out so far. So let's see what happens next.
Let's hope 2021 is better. Like you said, you've been in Germany for 2 decades. You have children there. You have a fully functioning and good life there, good job, good career. Of all of the things that you could, I won't say give that up because you've explained that you're not, you're between two places or you're in two places. You're in Germany, you're in Nepal, going back and forth. But of all of the projects that you could give up some of that German experience for, you're doing politics. And for people who don't know Nepali politics, it's I've known Nepal now for about 20 years. It's roundly criticized for being ineffective, corrupt, very much patriarchal, dominated by personalities and a few political parties. And there are lots of other adjectives I could use. So why did you decide that giving back, you could have gone to work for an NGO
Yeah.
or many different places. Why did you choose politics?
Um, it has a long story. In 1998, in Germany, with a couple of doctors in Kiel, we started an NGO, a German NGO called Stimme für notleidende Kinder. That means Voice for Needy Children. And we started a welfare home in Kathmandu. And we had so many problems. We could not find a manager. We found one, and we sent money to pay the fees for children, and he would misuse it. And we would find another manager, and he would do the same thing. And these were all the hurdles. And I started realizing that the root of the problem is politics. Everything has got to do with politics, especially in Nepal, whether you get electricity or not, whether you get water or not, whether you get a job or not, everything depends on politics. So I realized that that's the root of the problem, and that's where we need to work. And I started studying politics in 2012 or so, with bachelor, and currently now I'm doing PhD in political science. To do active politics, I thought, okay, I need theoretical background as well. And the last 2 years, the experience tells me that I'm sort of right. I mean, everything has got to do with politics, and if we motivate people, I mean, motivate good people to come to politics, that we could make a positive change. So when I compare, or when we compare politics in developed countries, especially Western countries here in Europe and Nepal, people have a positive relation to politics. They engage with it, they engage with the subject, they work in the community, and they know that democracy is not only about rights, but it's also about responsibilities. And in Nepal, it has been so corrupt that politics is only a way of earning money for politicians and their followers. And this has to change. And for that, good people need to come to politics. That's why I'm into politics. I hope I can survive. The last two experience tells me that it is very, very difficult if you talk about ethics and principles and morals, and people fight you. People try to demotivate you, and you need a very, very thick skin. But still, what I tell people is, corrupt people in Nepal, they have a huge and strong network. So they work together and it works. But on the other hand, those who want to do good work, they are scattered. They try to do something individually or in small groups, and it doesn't work because, on the other hand, the other side is very, very strong. So what we need to work on is, like, those who really want to bring positive changes in politics, they need to come together and fight back. So that's my current strategy. I don't know how things will work until the next election. I mean, it's politics itself is very dynamic all over the world. So we need to see how things will change, especially because of pandemic now.
Right. And so obviously, at the core of your beliefs is the idea that politics does not have to corrupt. So not every person who goes into politics in Nepal will become corrupted. You believe that there are good people and bad people, not so good people, and we just need more of the good and fewer of the bad. And the good can survive, they can do good while being in politics. Because I think a lot of people here would say that that's not true. Everyone in politics is out for, at least to take something for themselves. Not maybe not everything, but they're going to do well by politics personally, and then they might also do good for their city or their locale.
Yeah, I mean, when you look in other countries, it's not that corruption does not happen in Germany or somewhere else or in USA or anywhere else, but there the ratio is different. Like, first of all, the ratio is small, and even if it happens, there is a rule of law. There is a check and balance. So if you do something wrong, you have to go to jail or there are consequences. In Nepal, there are no consequences, and people have had such a bad example about politics, and that's very sad because we are social beings and we need government. We need a good government, and actually, when you ask what is government, that's you and me, the public. We choose the government ourselves, so we have to be aware of our rights and responsibilities. And when I look at other political existing bigger political parties, there are good people out there in Congress, in Communist Party, and even in Samajwadi Party. There are good people who are trying to do something good, but the ratio is the other way around. There are only small group of people trying to do, but the large number of people are doing bad things, doing corruption and filling their own pockets. So that has to change. We have to make the public aware that actually it is in your hands to change this situation. You need to have the willpower to change this situation, and it will change. It shall change if the public come together.
Okay. So at the moment, you've been working with Vivek Shil now for more than 5 years. Where is your focus now? So are you focused more on growing the party as a viable alternative to the existing powerful parties, or as you said, are you focused more on attracting good people, or trying to do both at the same time? How are you working to attain your goal?
Um, Both, actually, both. In Nepal, you have a saying like, I mean, the political party is also a mirror of the society. So even within Bibekshul, we have our issues. We have to uh, sort out a couple of things. So I'm fighting within the party as well. And just yesterday, I wrote an article about value based politics, why it is so important. You can have all the rules and regulations in the world, but if you do not have the common sense, you do not abide by values, you will take wrong decisions. Politicians will take the wrong decisions. So it is so important. So I'm trying to establish that within the party and outside the party also. I'm trying to motivate people to come to politics, to give it a try. And politics not only means like you have to be a candidate or you have to be a member of the political party, but you just have to be aware what it means to you to have a responsibility to work for the community. And the least one should do is vote for the right person, not for the party, but vote for the right candidate.
So let's talk a bit more about values. Say, for example, that you're in a meeting with colleagues from Bibek Shil, and you bring this up. You say, we need to have common understanding of these are the values that we accept and use to guide our work and our activities. And maybe someone says, well, That's great for you. You could afford to give up your career and you're here on your project, but we have to make a living and this is part of what we're doing and we need to be practical. So values are great up to a point, and then you need to be practical, make a living, and politics is an avenue for us to also do that. How do you respond to that?
Um, I I try to give them the examples of what the current party is doing and why it is wrong. I mean, just the current example of Bamdev Gautam being trying to be a prime minister, not prime minister, minister at least. That's wrong. I mean, all of us agree that it is wrong, even though whatever they are doing is according to the constitution. So that's where values comes in.
Let me just cut you just for a second, just to explain for people who might not know what this is.
Okay.
Bamdev Gautam is a veteran politician from one of the two parties that's in the governing alliance. Um,
Yes.
and he was not elected, but because he's so close to, I think the prime minister is his most influential backer, that somehow they found a way to give him a seat around the cabinet table. And there's a huge controversy about whether or not this is legal.
Yes. 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 He lost the election. The public said, Nepali said that he's not our candidate, and still the party nominated him or trying to nominate him that he can go to the parliament. When you follow the constitution, they are abiding by the rule. But then it was not the idea of that position. It was not the idea of the constitution that, and it even in another article it says that those who have lost the election is not allowed to go to the lower parliament. It is forbidden. But then still they have found a loophole and taking him to the parliament and probably making him minister, and that's where the values comes in. I mean, of course, people say that you have to find those loopholes and then change the constitution, etc., etc. But there will always be loopholes. You cannot just make everything tight. I think all of us would agree that this move is wrong.
Right. So it's against, as we say in English, it's against the spirit of the Constitution. Technically, it's
Yep.
possible, but it violates the
Yeah.
spirit. Right. Okay. And just curious. I mean, I'm not asking you to tell tales or reveal anything, but your colleagues in Bibekshil, do they mostly agree with you on that?
Um, yeah, that's a very good question. um, I mean, how do you say that? Theoretically, they agree with me, yeah, but practically, there is a difference. That would be the diplomatic answer, I guess.
And so broadening out this discussion, when you, with the experience you have now of talking to people about politics in Nepal, when you look around you, are there enough people that you've identified who, when you discuss this example, would agree with your point of view? Are there enough people who share your values that you're optimistic about this project?
Yeah, yeah, they do. But the problem is what they think is there's a saying in Nepal, Nepal ma esteo. It's like this in Nepal. So um, they think they are alone and they cannot fight back. I think that's the issue. So people do agree with me, but they say like, okay, in Nepal it is like this, and you have to accept it. And the corrupt network is so huge, you cannot fight back. So I get that those kind of answers, but I'm quite optimistic that in the long run they will understand. And what I also tell people is it took 8 years to pass the constitution, and to implement the constitution it will take at least another 10 years. We have had this government for the last 3 years, and we Nepalese would be lucky if the government remains stable for the next 2 years. So, and then maybe we can think about the next step. So it is a very, very long process, and it is an uphill battle, and nobody should expect shortcuts or that it will happen overnight. So I think in terms of like 10 or 15 years to see visible changes. I'm not so hopeful about the next election in 2 years, but maybe after that or the election after that.
I know you must be very much up to date on the news from Nepal, what's happening here during COVID-19, the pandemic. Politically, again, it's been very tough. The government's been criticized extremely strongly for its actions or lack of actions. In a way, do you think that would make people more open to alternative political views, or is this going to make them more anti-politics?
I suppose both. Unfortunately, there aren't many good alternatives. That's the issue, I think. So, if enough people would think that politics is necessary and I have to go into politics, then I hope that that would bring change. But most of them still do not want to go into politics. Either they not want to go into politics or they cannot go into politics because they have to make a living and they do not have the privilege and luxury to go into politics because politics is expensive. If you run an election, you will need a lot of money everywhere. That's the case. So not everyone can do that, even they want to. And the other problem that I see is lack of management and lack of skills. Those who are right now in the government, maybe they did a good job and during the revolution, and they brought democracy in the country. And I mean, we are thankful for that. But on the other hand, revolution and managing the government is two different things. So just because you did the one thing right does not mean you're successful in running the government as well, because you need different kind of skills, especially in 21st century. You have to be kind of technically, I wouldn't say tech savvy, but still you have to know the technology, you have to know science, a lot of things to consider. And maybe that's why the government has failed, and that's where we need to motivate people to come into politics and see what the problem is. It's because even if they want an alternative, there aren't much alternatives. That's the problem. When you go to villages, all of them are communists or Maowadis or Congress. There is no alternative. I mean, we Bibikshil are very, very small. We are limited almost within Kathmandu Valley or maybe with Bagmati Pradesh, Bagmati province. But outside that, we don't have anything. So we need a lot of people to join this movement. I wouldn't urge people to join Bibekshil if they don't like it, but at least they should be politically aware and see what they can do for the community, for their own community.
And I'm curious about your PhD. How is that helping this your overall project? Because Nepali politics is not a place where you expect to meet educated people who are discussing, nuances of political theory or anything like that. It's a very, very much, if I can use the term, street fighting kind of place where it can get tough and dirty. And so, how does political education, doing a PhD, contribute to what you're doing?
Uh, I think it keeps me sane. So I
Well, that's
have my
very, very important.
yeah. It keeps me really, yeah, honestly, it keeps me sane, and it's kind of academic challenge, my personal challenge, so that at least in a couple of years I have something in the hand. And it's also the journey that I get to learn something, even it's only theory, and I get to meet a lot of great people, and that could be a second career as well. And if I don't get chance to do or take part in practical politics, education is the next thing which is very important in Nepal, which needs to be overhauled. And so I was thinking, like, after my PhD, maybe I could teach at the university or college, or I don't know. And because research-based work is very rare in Nepal, so you don't plan, you don't have prototype, you just go ahead, and things doesn't work. So, kind of idea is that that I teach people to to learn, learn, unlearn, and learn, and that you challenge yourself. I mean, learning does not necessarily mean degree only. At the if you pursue it for a couple of years, you might have a degree, but the main point is challenging yourself and trying to learn, to read, to study.
Does that mean that you're not sure if you would be a candidate in the next election? You haven't decided, or you'll do both for now?
I haven't decided yet because I think I mentioned before, I wanted to spend a lot of time in Kaveri this year. In February, I was there. I took for a couple of days, and I took around in a jeep. But actually, I'd wanted to spend there a lot of time and to get to know the people and do something. But since I haven't been able to do anything, I don't think it makes sense to be a candidate just like that. I mean, it's still 2 years, and who knows, maybe the election will also be postponed for a couple of months. And if I get a chance to spend time next year and to get to know the people, and the people get to know me, then only it makes sense. Otherwise, just for the sake of running, I don't know how it would make sense. So that's why I haven't decided yet.
That's understandable. Do you still have family there in the village? And how are, yeah, I know you have been there recently. So how do people respond so far to what you're doing?
Um, yeah, they're very positive about it, but they also like give me advice. Bibikshil is too small. Come to Congress. Come to Samajwadi. And then you have a chance to win and do something. But they're very positive that, especially because being a female, kind of, I'm a motivation for the younger generation, at least in my village.
And are they all political people in the sense that they have an affiliation with one party or another?
Yes, yes, in all villages, whether in my villages or during the last by-election in November, I was in Pokhara, I was in Burtibang, I was in Dang, and you won't find any family which is not of a level affiliate to any political party.
This was so strange for me coming from Canada, where now the challenge in Canada is to get people to interested in politics, right? And especially the younger generation. It's a huge challenge to have more than, say, 40% of people vote in an election. And here, just everything is, as you were saying earlier, everything has a political angle to it. No matter if you're a student in school or you're going for a driving license or you want to get a permit so you can drive during the lockdown during COVID-19.
Normally, you would just say that it is a kind of government service. Whether you get a driving license or not, it's just a government service. If you pay tax and you get service from the government. But unfortunately, it's not so in Nepal.
So let's talk a little bit about this other initiative that you're involved in. There's a website, I know, it's called Nepal Farkau. Can you explain that? And is it connected to this other work we've been talking about?
Um, how this started, actually, it has a sort of political connection, but the movement itself is apolitical. When Bibekshil and Saza united, we had a group. I mean, we the Bibekshil Saja members, and in 2018, early 2018, I was going back that year to Nepal, so I announced that I was going back and I would have four agendas. And those were voting rights for Nepali citizens living outside the country, and the second one was about increasing women participation in politics. The third one was digital revolution, and the fourth one was encouraging Nepalis to return home. And Dr. Rajendra Pangini also read it, and he's currently in USA. He was in Netherlands for a conference, I think, and we met in Cologne. And it was just ad hoc. We made a chat group, and the initiative began. So Dr. Rajendra Pangini is doing most of the work, and he's also leading the movement. We have Binisha Shresthaji in Nepal as a contact person, and the rest of us assist as far as we can. We have meetings once a month. We try to do it once a month and help each other and build a network. And we have kept this initiative apolitical. And we have decided also not to register it as an organization, because if you have an organization, you have all those other obligations. So we wanted to keep it as open as possible, as a loose movement, but then still keep a wide network of people from all background and all works and all walks of life. So everyone can join, no matter what kind of background you have. That's how it came up. That's the gist of it. And a lot of have already returned and doing a good job. So we try to motivate people, follow the path. We are not an organization, and we cannot give jobs, provide jobs, what some people expect. But what we do is provide a network. Like when you go to Nepal and want to find someone in IT, then I could provide that network. Or if it is something else about agriculture, then there is someone else. Even just the knowledge that there are a lot of people returning and doing a good job is, I think, a very good motivation for those who are still undecided whether they should do it or not. But we also tell frankly that you have to be very well prepared financially, mentally, and physically, because it is not easy to go back and stay there, because some others go back and after 2 or 3 years, they leave Nepal again. And so to make sure that that doesn't happen, or that you don't get too much disappointed, we try to be honest and frank and be open about the challenges that awaits you in Nepal.
This is very interesting, partly because I'm stopped occasionally and asked about Canada, right? People, Nepalis here, particularly young people who have just graduated, they want to go and live in Canada or the US. So they're asking for my advice. And one of the things I say is it's just much different. It's not as if you transplant the Nepali way of life and culture into a country that's more systematic, and you get a job and you live this kind of 9 to 5 existence. Everything is different. So your relationship with family would be different. The fact that everything is very systematic, timeliness is so important, punctuality. So you really need to think about it before you go there. And usually I say that and people don't really pay attention to me because they're so much attracted by the other things, right? But it's very interesting to hear you say that you're counseling people going back to Nepal about similar things, right? About reintegrating into this culture.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it cuts both ways, I think. I also tell people, I mean, I also get a lot of questions about going to Germany and why I'm willing to leave Germany, or why I left Germany, and why wouldn't I stay in Germany, and all this sort of questions. And my answer is similar to yours. I say that wherever you live, it depends, what you make of your life depends on you, and not someone else. So the challenges you have in life is similar everywhere. Maybe in Germany or Western countries, you have 24 hours electricity and water, and it is clean. But then it's all because the generation before worked hard for it. There are a lot of people who have done great job in Nepal as well. But I agree that because of the access to opportunities in Nepal, you have difficulties. If you are in a Western country and if you're educated and you are willing to work hard, then you get a job. In Nepal, that's not enough. You need to know someone somewhere. So that's the challenge, I agree. But the rest of the issues you have everywhere. You have all those positive and negative sides in all societies.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So getting back to the this initiative, the Nepal Farkal, how many people so far are involved? Like, you don't have a membership, right? It's just more a loose collective of people. How many so far?
I do not know about the current data. I would have to ask Rajendraji. A couple of thousand, I think, already have filled the form. But core group, we are like 20 or 30 core people where we meet and we have a messenger group, share our ideas and motivate each other. Yeah, I think that's that's very important that we motivate each other to keep on moving.
Yeah, I'm sure the motivation can be very because everyone has tough times when they're relocating, right? So
Yeah.
talking to people who have been through it and maybe who have some advice or are just willing to listen to you is important. Is it a cross section of people that you've met through this? You were talking earlier about how traditionally it's older people who want to go back to Nepal to retire. They dream of, building their dream house and retiring, but now are you seeing more professional people, younger people, men, women? Is it a bit of everything?
Yes, actually, more younger people are interested. I mean, I wouldn't say in their 20s, but those in 30s and early 40s are willing to go back. At least they want to give it a try. So I've met a lot of people and who've really also gone back and started something in agriculture or other fields.
Right. And of those people returning who you've come in contact with, do any have similar aspirations as you? Any would be politicians among that group?
Yeah, a lot of us are interested. We think we believe that we need to go into politics. But last time when we were talking, we do not know which political party or when, but we sort of believe that yes, we have to do it. But then we also know that that won't be our last career. I mean, you go into politics for maybe for 5 years or 10 years, but not longer.
Right. Okay. So it's like you were saying before, it's an opportunity to give back to the country, but
Yes.
it doesn't necessarily have to be the rest of your life. Okay, very good. I think that's a good place to leave it. Karma, thank you very much for taking the time. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I take it as my hobby. And maybe when I retire, I'll have a book full of adventures and memories to share. Thank you so much.